I'm Ian Rush and you're watching the Redmen TV.
Hello and welcome to the Redmen TV. It's a special news edition. The jury has finally reached a decision after the Hillsborough Inquests, after nearly 2 years of evidence heard. The jury today has answered the 14 questions posed of them. I'm going to read through the questions and let you all know what the jury's decision was. Question 1 on the basic facts of the disaster. Do you agree with the following statement, which is intended to summarise the basic facts of the disaster? On the 15th of April 1989, 96 people died in the disaster at Hillsborough Stadium as a result of crushing in the central pens of the Leppings Lane terrace, following the admission of a large number of supporters to the stadium through exit gates. And the answer to that was yes. So they did agree that 96 people died in the disaster as a result of crushing in the central pens. Question 2, police planning for the semi-final match. Was there any error or omission in the police planning and preparation for the semi-final match on the 15th of April 1989, which caused or contributed to the dangerous situation that developed on the day of the match? And the answer to that was yes. Question 3, policing of the match and the situation at the turnstiles. Was there any error or omission in policing on the day of the match which caused or contributed to a dangerous situation developing at the Leppings Lane turnstiles? And once again, the answer to that was yes. So the jury found that the policing on the day caused or contributed to a dangerous situation. Question 4, policing of the match and the crush on the terrace. Was there any error or omission by commanding officers which caused or contributed to the crush on the terrace? The answer that the jury gave again was yes. So the commanding officers in charge of looking after our supporters on the 15th of April 1989 were found to have caused or contributed to the crush on the terrace. Question 5, the opening of the gates. When the order was given to open the exit gates at the Leppings Lane end of the stadium, was there any error or omission by the commanding officers in the control box which caused or contributed to the crush on the terrace? Once again, the jury found the answer to be yes. Question 6, and this is the big one for Liverpool fans around the world. The termination on unlawful killing issue. Are you satisfied so that you are sure that those who died in the disaster were unlawfully killed? And once again, thankfully, the answer to that question was yes. This was the one that was decided by a majority verdict, which is supposed to have been 7 jurors to 2. So the 96 Liverpool fans on the 15th of April 1989 were unlawfully killed. And that is the question that every Liverpool fan around the world wanted to know the answer to. Every Liverpool fan around the world knew the answer to that question. And finally, we've had the right answer after far, far too long. For the families and everybody connected to the club, but especially the families, finally, they've had the answer that they deserve and that is right and true and just. So question number 7, and this is behaviour of the supporters. Was there any behaviour on the part of the football supporters which caused or contributed to the dangerous situation at the Leppings Lane turnstiles? And the answer that the jury found was no. And then there was a follow-up question to this. If the answer to the last question was no, then was there any behaviour on the part of the football supporters which may have caused or contributed to the dangerous situation at the Leppings Lane turnstiles? And the answer, once again, to that was no. So finally, the supporters who died and the supporters who were there on the day have been exonerated of blame. And we'll come on to question 8, which is now defects in the Hillsborough Stadium. Were there any features of the design, construction and layout of the stadium which you consider were dangerous or defective and which caused or contributed to the disaster? And the answer was yes. Question 9, licensing and oversight of Hillsborough Stadium. Was there any error or omission in the safety certification and oversight of Hillsborough Stadium that caused or contributed to the disaster? And the answer, once again, was yes. Question 10, conduct of Sheffield Wednesday FC before the day of the match. Was there any error or omission by Sheffield Wednesday FC and its staff in the management of the stadium and or preparation for the semi-final match on the 15th of April 1989, which caused or contributed to the dangerous situation that developed on the day of the match? And the answer, once again, was yes. So question number 11, was there any error or omission by Sheffield Wednesday and its staff on the 15th of April 1989 which caused or contributed to the dangerous situation that developed at the Leppings Lane turnstiles and in the West Terrace? Now, the answer that the jury gave to this was no. There was a follow-up question though. They were asked if any error or omission may have contributed or caused the dangerous situation, and the answer that the jury gave to that one was yes. Question 12, conduct of Eastwood and Partners. Should Eastwood and Partners, the club's consultant engineers, the ones who designed the stadium, I think, have done more to detect and advise on any unsafe or unsatisfactory features of Hillsborough Stadium which caused or contributed to the disaster? Once again, the answer was yes. Question 13, emergency response and the role of the South Yorkshire Police. After the crush in the West Terrace had begun to develop, was there any error or omission by the police which caused or contributed to the loss of lives in the disaster? And the answer was yes. So the police made an error or there was an omission which caused or contributed to the loss of lives. And question 14, emergency service response and the roles of the South Yorkshire Metropolitan Ambulance Service. After the crush in the West Terrace had begun to develop, was there any error or omission by the South Yorkshire Metropolitan Ambulance Service which caused or contributed to the loss of lives in the disaster? And once again, the answer was yes. And I wanted to do now is just read through a few of the tweets that I've seen. You know, people have replied to us after we've put a couple of tweets out and stuff. So first one that really drew my eye was a Man United channel, a Man United Twitter account called United Stand MUFC. The 96 fans who died at Hillsborough could have been fans of any club. Their legacy is these mistakes will never be made again. Hashtag JFT96. Nathan at Little Echo Lad, finally the truth is out. Our angels and the families finally have the justice that they deserve. You'll never walk alone. Steve Tyndall at Smee 1977. At last, you'll never walk alone. Paul's not here today. He's working elsewhere, but I did see a tweet from Paul. So it's at the Redmen TV. The truth at last, sat here in tears. Hashtag JFT96. And I think Liverpool fans around the world will echo that sentiment, Paul. At Mike C6MJC. Very, very emotional. Years of injustice over. Hashtag never forget the 96. At Jim Beglin. Disgraceful for 27 years, but finally justice. Unlawful killing. Utmost respect for the families, courage and determination. Hashtag JFT96. At David_Con, who's a journalist, Hillsborough. Statement by Andy Burnham, who has distinguished himself with campaigning. And this is what Andy Burnham said. This was the greatest miscarriage of our times. Couldn't agree more. At BBC Dom C, BBC journalist Dominic Casciani, Crown Prosecution Service confirms it will now begin the process of formally considering criminal charges over Hillsborough. And that is music to my ears. And finally, the journalist that I respect most, at Brian Reid. It is a full house. This is the truth. Police killed the 96. Ambulance service, Sheffield Wednesday, also to blame. Fans exonerated. And, you know, on a purely personal thing, this has affected my life for years and years now. I remember where I was on the day, of course. You know, it hasn't affected my life in anywhere near the gravity that it has affected other people, the families of the 96, all those that have campaigned for years, not just the families, but everybody who's helped to campaign to keep this in the public domain, who disagreed with the injustices of the past and who were here throughout that time to finally see justice served. And, you know, that is one of the most emotional things I have ever sat and witnessed at a computer, watching the news for that. I mean, the three of us in the office were just in bits, and it's such a hard video to do because there's so many people out there in the world who can do this topic justice much better than I. But it falls to me as part of the Redmen TV to bring our spin on it. And from a purely personal level, I'm ecstatic. There's a weight off. And it feels to me right now like there's a weight off this city. There's a weight off this football club. There's a weight off those families because justice has finally been served. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you very much for watching. I realise it's been a long, hard slog of a video, but imagine what the families have gone through. And just to end, one final thing, seeing those families sing You'll Never Walk Alone outside that court, man. That was one of the things that I will remember most about this year. For me, it doesn't matter now about anything on the football field. You know, this trumps all of that because family and this club and these supporters, man, they just, oh man, I don't know, they're just incredible.